Community Crafted Radio, 99.1 FM, KLBP, Long Beach.
The following program is intended for mature audience.
Program the computer! We create a mental atmosphere.
Fear not, my friends. This will be my greatest performance.
Give it to me.
Here we go. We came, we saw, we kicked it.
Oh, yes, we did. Mornings on the Beach returns for your weekend right in the middle of November. Danny Lemos is here along with...
I'm Mike Stark.
Melanie Ray.
And today on the show, we're going to get to so many things, but on the positive side, we're going to give you ways to survive another Trump presidency.
I need that.
For sure.
We think we all do.
Break the glass.
And we're also going to be talking about Quincy Jones. I have a personal memory that I'm going to give you in the show today. But right before that, here we go.
This is some music from Bobby Mahoney out of New Jersey. Another deadbeat summer.
Yeah. Mornings on the beach. I thought you could use something like that to get your morning going, especially on a weekend like we are hearing. You're with us at 8 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday now. We're returning to the airwaves. That's a great song. Mike picked it out.
Yeah, I heard it on Little Steven's Underground Garage on Sirius. Don't tune over there, but...
Stay where you
or
are.
wait, at least, if you want to. We're back with you sort of in our public affairs mode. We hope to bring some interesting things to you. I know we will. Just going out into the city and running into people. I ran into so many people last night at the Edison Theater. There was a event to organize people who want to use that space. So it's now an event, a big white empty event space. They had you can turn it into anything you want: a stage, a party, a conference. There's a podcast studio upstairs. There's a kitchen upstairs.
That's a beautiful
It's
space.
a beautiful space,
Yeah.
and it's being run by Intertrends, which is right on Broadway downtown, to bring community together. Sort of that's what's attracting me anyway. I seem to be running into everybody who wants to organize the community to bring it to a new level. So that's what we're going to do here on the show, is bring those people to you. And later in the show, we're going to be talking to one of those principals that's working on making a better Long Beach. Is always a good thing for the show. You're with me. I'm Danny.
I'm Mike.
I'm Melanie Ray.
Until you get used to our voices, I think it's important to point out who's who.
I'm Danny.
Yeah. Hey, today, Saturday the 16th, if you're listening on Sunday, I apologize. But on Saturday, we're going to have a producer's workshop right here in downtown Long Beach. And that is for people that are interested in sitting right where I am and doing your own show. Or if you're interested in starting a podcast, if you're interested maybe in recording at home and you want some information, how do I do that? Well, unless you're going to a local college and paying for that, or you're paying someone on the internet to teach you, we do that, and we offer our workshops for free as a part of our grant, in a sense. We applied for a license to educate people and give access to lower income communities and minorities who don't normally have that access. So we will teach you how to do it. Just show up, 11 o'clock. It's at the, it's called the SNA Club, which is inside the Redevelopment Corporation, the RDC/Studio 111, 245 East 3rd Street downtown. That's 11 o'clock on Saturday. If you're hearing this in the morning, come on over later.
Well, it's a great opportunity to network, too, because when I used to work those workshops, you would meet all these people that had all these ideas and didn't really know where to put them. And then you put a bunch of those people together and great ideas form, and then you learn how to put them out on the air.
It's all about, like, networking lately.
And you'll get to meet us.
That's the best part.
Local
Maybe that's
celebrities.
maybe that's the downside. I don't know.
No, because what I find is that people are normally attracted to the people that are sort of on their level, so to speak.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? They sort
Yeah.
of gravitate together, birds of a feather and all that. So we're hoping that that will be available for you, too, tomorrow. Today, later today. We're recording this in advance, just to let you know, just in case we flub it up, like I just did. Mornings on the Beach is the name of the show. And we are so proud of our internship partnership. It's called the Long Beach Journalism Initiative. And in cooperation with the Long Beach Post, we have 4 interns here at the station that have been working with the Long Beach Post for content during the elections. Yesterday, we got the results of what their work has achieved. And let's just say that on a normal week, their YouTube page maybe had 35 people looking in. And the week that our interns sort of co-opted the page and had their content on it, 735 people
Wow.
saw.
Nice.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Fantastic.
That's the best part, is that, involvement. And this is coming from students who are learning to be journalists at Cal State Long Beach, and who are going to be in charge of the ship because with the new administration coming in, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm worried about stuff like journalism.
absolutely.
He's going to go after his enemies. That's what he's promising. And then there's been some developments this week, as you probably would know.
Really? I didn't
Yeah.
notice anything new.
Matt Getz, you heard about that in and out, right? But is he resigning to be our AG? I didn't understand. It wasn't quite
Okay,
clear.
he is resigning his position in Congress
To avoid prosecution, right?
to avoid prosecution. He's saying he's doing it because he's got the nomination. But the ethics committee was going to go to work
Right.
this week on his case
For trafficking, yeah?
Adios.
Yeah, that's one of them. There's multiple charges.
Oh.
However, he's alleged to have done misconduct, so he says he's leaving, right?
Right.
And then he's going to take the highest law enforcement position in the
Correct.
country.
Well-
So the ethics
Talk
there-
about irony.
Yeah.
The felon is president, what's the next step?
Well, apparently you've got to be somewhat criminal to be in this administration.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And later on, like I just teased at the top of the show, we're going to talk about how do you survive this? We've been through it, so we're experts. So have you, in a sense, if you're listening out
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
But you need to be reminded, I think, from time to time on where to put your attention, and we'll get to that in just a little bit. The anniversary party for our 6th anniversary here at KLBP
Yay.
has now been, we've inked the date, as they
Ooh.
say. Yeah, December 27th, which is the Friday between Christmas and New Year's.
Perfect.
So you won't have any plans on that Friday.
Right.
True that.
It's going to be a great party, right? And we're reaching out to some, we can't say anything about it, but it's exciting, who we're working with to hopefully have some presence and supply some entertainment. So we're going to have a good party. You're going to want to be there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's one of our major fundraisers. We'll be straight up. We're going to be raising money, shaking you upside down to see what falls out of your pockets.
Bring cash.
Yeah, and there'll be good things to do. We're going to have a silent auction. We're going to have things to give away. We're going to have things to purchase. We're going to have, all the other things you have at a party. Adult beverages, food. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Bring cash.
There you go. That's the message Mac wants to give you for sure. And here at the station, I thought a good idea. We should bring folks from the radio station to introduce themselves on this show.
Oh, yes.
Because there's so many people working behind the scenes
Right.
that you don't know about. But we'd like you to. And I think it's a good thing to always get people involved. And being on the air, it's amazing how many people are involved in the radio station that are afraid to get on the microphone.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. We'll force you, but you
It's
don't
the
have
funnest
to.
part, though,
I think it's great.
right?
Right?
Well,
Yeah.
we're
come on.
built that way. Though.
Yeah. Yeah, we were
A
talkers.
lot of
Talkers.
a lot of people aren't built that way, and it takes all different types of people to run a radio
I
station.
agree. And if you're one of those people that are listening now and think of how do I get involved in the show, like get my event mentioned or, get an interview on the show, there's some interesting folks out there in the community. You reach out to us right now, info at KLBP. I see those. Or write to me, Danny at klbp.org. And we'll get back to you scheduling. There's so many people I want to talk to. I met a candy maker last night.
Oh.
He makes these little candies. He's on Channel 5. I saw him. So when I saw him at this event last night, I was like, you're a star to me. And he was so excited that somebody had seen him on TV. But he makes these little candies, and they're incredible. I mean, the ingredients they're not See's candies or any of these branded. This is homemade stuff. And then he teaches classes on how to make them. So if you
how
really want to
fun.
impress your friends for Christmas, there you go. And I want to talk to him because he's a lively guy.
Well, I like giving those kinds of things for gifts. Classes to
Yeah.
do this, pottery
That'd be great.
classes, candy making classes. Yeah, as opposed to a thing. Everybody's house is
Do you
full
hang
of
on to
things.
stuff that's been given to you like that? Or do you actually use it?
I was a teacher for 24 years, so I have a lifetime supply of candles and socks. And they always end up at parents. Get a gift card.
Yeah.
We have candles. Yeah. So those are
I never thought of that, but you're
yeah.
right.
Apples,
Oh my God.
really? Come on. Got it.
Apples. Oh my God! We'll go, as we get closer to the holidays, we want to give some of those really sage tips, advice for people who are surviving the holidays and how to make the best of it. Right. In the meantime, a little bit of music for us right here on Mornings on the Beach. Was that it?
That's it. They said it was the end.
Well, you know
Duh.
what? It's the conversation that's going on behind the scenes we were having there that took us out of the space. But it's Morning on the Beach with Danny
And Mike.
And Melanie Ray.
And in the middle of November weekend, Thanksgiving, what's only a week and
Here
a
it
half
comes.
away.
We're doing the whole thing, it turns out. Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Yeah. Are you one of those people that lays the whole thing out? Are you doing a whole spread?
No, I have a new tradition now with my daughter where we go to Knott's Berry Farm and we take one of the black and white sepia photos as our Christmas
No
card.
kidding.
And then we go to Korean barbecue.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a plan.
And then I eat somebody else's Thanksgiving leftovers and it's all done.
We go to the families every year. This year, my family decided, or my sister actually decided it was her turn. She lives in Arizona, and Prescott, Arizona, which, it's one of the red counties. So I'm not going. First of all, driving 5.5 hours for Thanksgiving, getting a motel room, taking the dog, having to fight.
Yada, yada, yada. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
So I was the first one on the family thread that said, nope, not going. And then, of course, branded as the guy. But one by one, they're coming around and saying, we don't want to go either. So this year it's going to be different. We're going to all go to the Fuego restaurant on the Hotel
Oh, I
Maya.
love that place. Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be 14 of us, 14 expats.
Right on the water. Right on the water.
Right on the water.
Yeah,
Boomer
you can keep
come.
Arizona, man.
The dogs can come
Right.
too. Yeah. No, last time I traveled to Nevada, I got into a fight in a Starbucks. Right? About the political scene, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then didn't realize the man has strapping a gun.
Oh, yeah. Last
yeah.
time I was in Nevada, I was at my cousin's son's wedding, and there were two groomsmen with guns on them during the wedding.
Because you never know.
Because you never know.
Yeah, I find that strange, number one. But
It's a different culture, for sure.
It scares the mess out of me, and it keeps you in line, in other words. Because I wasn't going to get out of line with that. I do have a big mouth.
What's the line?
Yeah. Well, that you have to determine where you are for that line.
Oh, for sure.
That's for sure. But if you're like me, he wailed for the whole week after the last show we did. Oh my God, we're facing another presidency of the T-Rump. So what do we do? How do we survive it? Right?
Well, my strategy is
perfect.
back in 2016, I went on the whole roller coaster. I followed all the indictments, all the charges, all the horrible texts. I was checking I went on the ride. And now I realize how damaging that was to me. So I'm just not going on the roller coaster this time. I took Facebook and Instagram off my phone, so it's not as accessible.
No.
And I'm just going to try to focus small and not read because every minute, right? Last time there was some ridiculous thing to respond to, and I'm just going to try to limit that exposure and stay small with people who I'm happy with.
Because no matter what you got online and said, it did so much difference, right?
Right, exactly. Like meme culture. If only a meme could solve this. Well,
yeah, really.
You know what?
Yeah, well. Any suggestions, Mike, about how you're planning to survive this?
This is different because you and I are older gentlemen,
Especially now.
and it's like
After been through this once.
we went through it once. I'm just going to enjoy the ride and do a lot of laughing.
Do you think that's a product of old age? We just sort of care less?
Well, it's not a case of care less, but it really isn't in our hands any longer.
That's the thing.
Anyway.
I think it's understanding your powerlessness.
Yeah.
Is that going on the ride doesn't. Well, I don't want the ride. You want the ride.
I don't feel like I want to hang on to the handle of the clown car like I did last time.
And the powerlessness of it and the manicness.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, Neil Young said something actually during COVID. He said, he didn't like the times we were living in, but he cherished the fact that he was living in times that are so amazing, not always favorably amazing, but at least he can watch what's going on and be part of something that won't repeat in history as far as we know.
Well, and it does have an effect on the art. Look at the art that's being produced,
yeah.
During these tense times. The music, the visual art, it comes out there.
It really does come out there, and that's where I'm hoping
Right.
a lot
Focus
of
on that.
Yeah, a lot of the music will change. There's going to be a lot of things go on in our culture that will leave a mark as to what really went on during these times.
Yeah. Well, I'm different from you in this way, in that you take the intellectual approach. For me, I just take the 0 F's approach. As I get older in life, I think, one less thing to worry about. And it's I've sort of brought that to this feeling about what do I do for the next 4 years, right? So I made a list, and I'm going to read them to you.
Oh.
One was, and you hit it right on the head, Melanie, limit the intake of political news, like rubbernecking in a crash.
Right.
You're not
Yeah.
you're not going to get any yayas from that.
Right.
You've seen a crash before. Keep moving. That's how I feel. If a news item talks about worry or opinion for what might be, you can skip that one because it hasn't
Absolutely.
happened yet. And yet that's the one people pay attention and repeat.
Well, that's what the media pushes too, because they
Right.
want to get everybody all amped up.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a good definition right there. If your news hasn't happened yet,
It's not news.
yeah, but that's the one they'll give you the most, like I said,
Yeah.
Jaya, about. You can dive in when it becomes real. I
Yeah,
think.
and the reason
That's a
that
good
happens
point.
is that there's 24-hour news all the time.
Right,
So
of
they
course.
need to feed the machine.
Yeah.
So they speculate. A lot of speculation.
You know, that's a good point. Maybe we can convince the Trump administration to limit the amount of news that channels can be on the air.
Be careful with that.
Yeah, mine's face.
Be careful with
Didn't
that.
think that one quite through.
No.
But still, wouldn't it be nice if they signed off? Like after 9 o'clock, they have to sign off. That's it. That's enough news for the day. He'd love that, of
Not
course.
going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come on.
You know, it's interesting about news, if I may divert a little bit.
Absolutely.
I worked for the ABC TV network back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the 80s, the news division of all the networks
Sure.
were loss leaders. They never got if they wanted to use a studio or something at the studio, they stood in line.
Right.
They didn't get top priority.
Right.
It's when news started making money,
There you go.
became a profit center. And then the whole thing changed. And now news is a profit-making thing, and consequently, we have 24-hour news.
Well, and
and
all the
that.
more reason to support journalism,
Yeah.
because news isn't necessarily journalism.
But what we got out of that was more sensational teases. You know, the thing that's going to kill you coming up next.
breaking news.
Because you got to stay right there through those boring commercials and come right back. Mostly nowadays, all about medicine that will kill you.
Yeah,
I can never understand why. Why would you take a medicine you're allergic to?
I know.
And how to find out that you're allergic to it? You got to take it.
Side effects include death,
That's my favorite one.
rashy skin.
But you know what? At least your leg won't shake at night.
Right.
Like, you'll be dead. So nothing else could happen. No, not possible. Oh my God. So that is following like the song that we just played called The End. It is Mornings on the Beach right here for your Saturday morning. We hope you're enjoying us. We're enjoying being back with you. Yeah.
great.
It's great to be able to just vent.
Yeah.
And we recommend you get your own show if you'd like to vent or come on ours. You
This
can
in
vent on
itself is a therapy for the
ours.
next
Tell me
4
about
years.
it. Isn't it really?
Come to the producers meeting and learn how to vent on air.
There you go. I like the way you wrap that around right,
Right?
back to the
Bring
point.
it back.
Absolutely.
nice.
Another point, by the way, on how to survive a Trump presidency is that Twitter bullets are not news. So, you know, when people start to share that stuff around, that's, again, somebody's opinion, you know, unless it's coming from a news source like that you trust.
Yeah.
And that's
Right.
a hard one to figure out. How do you figure out, right? You start looking. Start looking at who owns this thing. And you can find that information if you search deep enough.
Yeah.
But
But you got to care enough to search.
yeah, there you go. Or that you just want to be the highlight of a party, which is I got to have the
I'm
bullet
always
points.
the highlight of a party.
The Fox bullet points are in my mouth and ready to go. You know, that's the way to start any party, really. And if you can afford it, travel to another country during
Yes.
these next 4 years and pay attention that the world is not like the U.S.
Right.
Right now, thank God.
Right.
And travel while they still let you before
Well,
they
and
close
also
the
I
gates.
think you realize, even as bad as it is here, you realize how good it is
can
here
be.
in spite of everything.
Right, isn't that true?
Oh, right. I have one of my dear friends lives in Thailand, and after January 6th, all his friends there were like, "Oh, this was your first coup? How cute!"
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Right? It's
Yeah, really.
adorable.
How quaint.
Yes.
South Americans, well, they've been through this
Yeah,
before.
right.
We know how to do it. Well, you know, it's going to be a different time. And once again, we're going to be here to talk about what actually is news. You know, when it hits and becomes real. We want to make sure we bring you up to date on it. But Melanie mentioned it, and the biggest fight we have in our future is to make sure that things like this radio station, which allows public access to get right onto the air and say what they want,
Right.
there could be a day when we're threatened for saying what we say. That's never been more real in my lifetime, right? That could be that. So supporting us is one way you could help us. KLBB.org. Just click on the Donate Now button and support us doing what we do so we can teach more people how to do it. But also to protect really truthful news sources, people that speak the truth. Because I can see, man, and thank goodness we don't have a high profile at the moment. Because can you imagine if we were a big high profile news agency like the Washington Post? What might happen if the president decides he's got a thorn up his what?
Yeah.
Then boom, we're going to see something different. Now, a lot of people are saying, wait a minute, that the courts didn't go out of phase. They're still working. They're still controlling this. Yeah. When we talk about his plans for the Department of Education, take it apart. Good thing or bad thing, it remains to be seen whether or not that department is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Certainly isn't doing what it was originally founded to do. Right. It's changed over the years, right? So maybe, who knows? But at this point, there are still protections, and the states have a lot to say about what they do in their own states. So everybody calm down.
Well, one of the
take your meds.
As a special ed teacher, though, the protections are federal right now, and the goal of the other party is to break it into a states' rights issue, which means that states will be able to decide who they educate. Yeah. And that's a really dangerous thing. In California, we're very strong, and I don't see that change happening in California, but in other states, saying we don't have to educate this kid because X, Y, and Z is a very dangerous proposition.
And you go all the way back in history, and you realize the people that wanted to keep people stupid, what was the reason? They wanted to control them.
Absolutely.
They wanted to make sure they could keep them under their thumb, and who knows? Is that what's going on in this day and age? Is that one of the reasons why Republicans want to dumb it down?
Melanie also brings up a very good point that is a broader than just the education thing, is that when you live in California, we're going to be immune to a lot of what goes on. It doesn't mean we should put blinders on to the rest of the country's problems, but we're in a good place because we've got leadership in general that wants to protect rights.
Teachers' unions are going to protect a lot.
Wants to protect everybody. So, I keep telling my wife, at least we live in California. If we lived in Mississippi, it'd be a different sort of vibe. But we live in California. Everything is progressive here, and it's going to remain progressive.
With the exception of the gumbo, it's better in Mississippi.
Oh, correct. You are correct, sir.
I've had that. It's Mornings on the Beach right here for your Saturday morning. And coming up on the show, we're going to be talking to a very special guest. He talks about the future, or as he sees it, of Long Beach. We're also going to be talking with me about my memories of Quincy Jones, who passed away this week. Okay. I've got a story I want to give you guys, if that's all right with you. It's coming up next right here on Mornings on the Beach. That music is so spooky.
It's so dark. What just hit the vibe switch?
I'll leave that. A 2-minute break. We're going to take a pause real quick.
Powered by the Mayor's Fund for Long Beach, the Long Beach Early Learning Hub is announcing its new one-stop shop for free or reduced childcare applications. Long Beach City residents have access to a free, centralized online platform where families can search, apply, and enroll in over 60-plus accessible childcare options. Families may also qualify for the Back to School Boost Scholarship, which will provide additional financial assistance. Eligible families with children ages 0 to 5 can receive up to $3,600 towards childcare costs. Families are encouraged to visit www.thehublb.org for more information.
Just imagine for a moment you're homebound, disabled, isolated, and on a limited budget and don't have any friends or family nearby to help. What would you do? Meals on Wheels of Long Beach can provide you with nutritious meals for lunch and dinner, as well as friendly support and referrals. We deliver over 3,000 meals a week through 300 volunteers. Providing that many fresh meals gets expensive, so please donate generously or volunteer by visiting our website at mowlb.org.
This is intern Lisbeth, and you are listening to KLBP Long Beach Public Radio.
It's Mornings on the Beach, back with you for a Saturday morning. It is the middle of November, and we've been talking about all kinds of things today. And coming up on the show next, I'm going to have a guest who's going to be talking about ways he sees that we can improve the city we live in. And
the Long Beach recently doubled the size of a big green space in North Long Beach, and we'll talk about that.
All that's coming up right now on Mornings on the Beach. But first, one of my favorite songs, Tina Turner.
Oh, yeah.
Simply the best on Mornings on the Beach. Hey, welcome, my guest in the studio, and it's David Salazar. And David, your I'll let you do your title. What?
Executive Director, Long Beach Community Design Center, and actually founded the center too.
That's great. And you brought with you a guest. You wanna introduce them?
Jenna, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Great.
Hello, my
Hi,
name
Jenna.
is Jenna. I am a student at Cal State. I'm doing a city planning and design internship with LBCDC, and I'm working with David. I'm really interested in green spaces and urban planning and how to create social justice through environmental justice and finding the intersection of that. So very exciting.
and what I'm finding out is there's a program, a organization dedicated to that David founded. It sounds very interesting at first glance when I walked in and found out about what you were doing there. But how did it come to be?
Yeah, so I made my whole career. I went to Long Beach State and graduated there in 1983 with a degree in sociology. And then from there, I learned about urban planning. Then I pursued my degree at Cal Poly Pomona and got my master's there. But my whole career was around campus planning, facilities management. So I did that for almost 30 years. And then at the end of my my tenure, right, I decided, okay, I'm going to think about what I'm going to do next. And still a relatively young guy. And I decided, why not start a nonprofit? And a nonprofit related to the community and bringing urban planning design to the community in a way that is affordable and accessible. So basically, we provide two things. One is pro bono architecture and urban planning services, primarily to underserved communities in the city. Mm-hmm. And then the other is the community engagement piece. And that's where Jenna comes in, is that we're in the process of creating a pipeline, both an academic and career pipeline for young people to enter the field.
And the purpose is really to redevelop our city or
So the purpose is really to work with the community and have the community be in a sort of a planning a position where they understand planning and can affect their physical environment, right? And bringing those resources to the community. So it's not about David telling them how to plan their cities or their neighborhoods. It's really about providing them the tools, the design center providing the tools, and then they basically design cities in their own image and then the way they want to see it, right?
Are you currently working with any projects that we might know about?
Yeah, so there's a couple that we worked on recently. We did some alley restoration projects with two community groups, one in the northern part of the city and one in the center part, basically looking at their alleyways as an extension of open space. So they can have community events and all that, artwork, things of that sort, yeah. And then the next project that actually Jenna's going to be working with me on is a big thrust that we had the last year was really looking at increasing parks and open space in the city to those underserved communities.
Absolutely.
So we're partnering with the Trust for Public Land to create a project. They're calling it a Park Equity Program, an accelerator program to start looking at those areas of the city that need it the most.
Now, and when you start a nonprofit, you look for an idea that's not being served, and it sounds like you found one. And is it serving the low-income communities? Is that not? Because when you think of urban planning, you think, oh, the city's got that handled. But obviously, there's ways to contribute that you found avenues in.
Right. So there was a gap in the city in terms of an organization like the Community Design Center, especially providing pro bono. There's a lot of firms that fee-based, but the community can't afford those things, and it's inaccessible. So and again, this is a way to empower the community around urban planning, around design, to actually affect their community in the way that they want.
Right. I remember when I got to CSULB. And I know you spent a good deal of time there. In fact, are you the person we can blame for all the new buildings? Then thank you, because it looks great. It looks fantastic, especially the journalism that I was connected with. But when you're looking at a new space or creating a new space and serving the community's needs, it's rare that somebody would say, I have this great idea. But yet we've heard There's that wonderful red beltway, it's called, or whatever that is, the Red Line Beltway that runs through Long Beach that we really like, and more of that, please. But in some of the ideas we've heard about, like what was happening along the 710 River, wasn't there going to be a park construction starting there? Is that still in the works? Do you know anything about that?
So there's a lot of activity. The LA River is basically, it runs from, basically the San Gabriel Mountains all the way through to the ocean, right? So the city created a plan, sort of a long-term plan there, the LA River Restoration Plan or something like that. But along the way, there's multiple communities from the downtown area all the way to the ocean. So unfortunately, over the years, everything that's basically fronting the river has been industrial, right?
Yeah.
And it's not it hasn't been that accessible.
Yeah.
So the city of Long Beach does have programs where they're going to be installing, additional sort of park space. Right now, there's a bikeway that you can take, right? But I think that's a resource that really needs to be taken advantage of.
I think it can be expanded on.
Oh, yeah.
I hope so. And also in the downtown area. And we noticed that, especially this week, the walking tours that are happening, looking at the area with the thought of repopulating businesses back into the downtown area. We're here in downtown, so we care a lot about that. But what are some of the ideas? Are any ideas coming to you out of that project?
The only thing that's come to the design center is that they're doing a series of zoning studies and reanalyzing land use, not only in the downtown area, but outside of the downtown area. So we've been involved in a couple of those things, providing input, right? But a big thing that's going to be happening in the downtown is the whole shoreline plan, right? So they're going to be looking at redeveloping that whole shoreline, and then looking at, my perspective is looking at it from how is that going to be accessible to those communities that we serve, right? Versus just a commercial sort of for-profit operation.
Right. Interesting. So somebody does care and is looking out for those kind of things, and I think that's a bonus for this program. Let's talk about what you offer young people, because I saw on the website you guys have programs for youth. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so when I first started the nonprofit, one of the ideas was I was always committed to youth and young people. I grew up in Pico Rivera, so in first-generation student, all that. So I kind of know the struggles, going to college and figuring out what you want to do with your life and your career and that kind of thing. So I sort of had that understanding already. So I thought the center really needs a focus of it, not the focus, but one of the focuses is really to invest in youth and to bring those youth into the profession, right? And the only way you get in is you have to go to school, right? And then so the idea is about creating this pathway, right? A career pathway into the profession. So we've been working with Long Beach City College, Cal Poly Pomona, creating really the first, in the state of California, the first associate's degree in urban planning at Long Beach City. So that got activated this fall. Mm-hmm. And then the idea is that creating an articulation agreement with Cal Poly Pomona, so those students can transfer directly and then major in urban planning. And Cal Poly is the only institution locally that has urban planning, architecture, landscape architecture. Right. So they have a full gamut of academic programs. We're focused just on urban planning now, but that was a big plus in terms of doing that. And then the other part of that, the early stages, like in high school, we have a program called the Young Community Planners of Long Beach, and we're working with the teen centers and those students and exposing them to urban planning and, and sort of like a planning 101 kind of workshop.
And how do they receive that?
Well, what we do is I'm partnering with Cal Poly Pomona, and we're bringing students, undergrad students from Cal Poly, into the teen centers to do that instruction. There's about 3 to 4 workshops. And at the very end, we take them to Cal Poly Pomona. We bus them out there, and then they get to be exposed to, the campus and what that's all about.
There's a lot more going on than when I was growing up. I grew up in Pico River as well.
Oh, did you?
St. Hilary's, yeah.
Oh, St. Hilary's, yeah. I went to St. Francis.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, so on the other side of town, right?
Yeah. And you also have programs for interns. Mm-hmm. We've got one here with us, so let's speak to that as well.
Yeah, so it's just, I'll call it a continuum, right? So the pipeline, this is sort of the center part of the pipeline, right? The education part. So there's I call it the 4 E's, right? There's the exposure part when you're really young, right? The education part, which is the education, right?
Great.
The experience part, which is the internship, and then ultimately the employment part. So the 4
Yeah, there
E's,
you
right?
go. Yeah.
So the 4 E's are there, and she's between education and the experience part, right? And then with the idea that we created, again, another partnership with the City of Long Beach, their Workforce Development Department. They're basically teaming up with us to provide the resources to fund 10 students this year.
Yeah, that's
and Jenna's
fantastic.
one of the 10. And she'll be with us till about June. And then the whole idea is not only to have the experience of working in, a planning environment, but giving her the resources and the direction for employment in the end, right?
And you end up where your heart is. How did you get there yourself? What was the journey to find urban planning or something that interests you in that field?
Yes, that's actually interesting because I am an environmental science major and I actually was a math major before. But I got into environmental science, geography. I also started taking some gender and sexuality classes, which that really brought in like the intersectionality and like highlighting inequities in communities and how that's connected to environmental injustice. And they actually sent out, I'm taking a urban planning, land use planning class right now, but that actually was like the first time I had ever, my grandfather was actually the city planner of LA.
No kidding.
But I didn't really even know about it until like recently, until I took these classes.
That's
so
wild.
I'm like super into it now and just realizing how you can use that as a tool to solve these injustices that it's historically been used to exclude, but how you can restructure communities. And also with like what a lot of what David is doing is getting the autonomy back into the communities for people to be able to plan their own communities and get involved in these processes that are supposed to include the public. So I'm really excited with where I'm at and this program and everything.
So if somebody's listening to this right now and it suddenly sparks their interest in it, how can they reach you?
Oh, so they can go to our website, Long Beach Community Design Center, and then all my contact information is there, as well as a review of all the different projects we've been working on. And then they can send me an email.
And make sure you let us know, too, with an upcoming workshop coming up so we can get people interested in that. The pathways in are available. People just need to find out about them. What is your hope for the future of our town? I'll ask each of you that on the way out.
I'll start. The hope, at least for me, is to have more of the communities that have been underrepresented be an integral part of the development of the city. And I think that's my ultimate sort of objective. And the other one is on the youth side is through this pipeline program, create a whole, like I'll call it a small little army, of young urban planners, designers, and then hopefully they'll stay in the city and actually be that technical assistance that those communities need and have that investment.
Yeah, that's good. Because we care a lot about being part of the city, and we want to expand our role as well, which led me over to your office. And then all of a sudden I'm discovering all these wonderful things that are going on around us. And I like to put it out there because people suddenly feel like there's a hope out there if there's people working on something, rather than, I don't know when they're going to do something. And guess what? The they are people like yourselves that they're talking about. And for you, Jenna, what's your hope for future of our town?
I think it definitely is like based around the idea of like community and finding these like a lot of third spaces and creating places where you can see the members of your community and you can know who's in your community and just taking care of each other and just having that like inclusive and equitable environment and how you can contribute to like the overall just like community of Long Beach.
I built a community out of the folks we met at the dog park.
Yeah.
Suddenly during COVID, we formed a bond and now we do things together outside of the dog park.
And that's so important.
It is. That's a little nugget for me, but I
Yeah.
want to expand on that. And that's why I love being associated with the radio station. So thanks for coming by, David and
you.
Jenna.
Thank you.
And please keep us informed about what's happening. We've put public service announcements on the air. There's no cost. Just reach out and let us know what's happening, and we'll be sure to do that. Thanks for being our guest today on Morning on the Beach.
Right. Thank you.
That was really great. So nice to have them right across the street and be a partner with us here at KLBP and do their stuff. But as they were talking there, and Melanie, you heard them talking about ways in which we can improve our green space. And I mentioned a little bit about this strip there along the 710 down here at Shoreline, only because I thought, wasn't it supposed to be closed by now and they're supposed to be working on it? But apparently you have an update about what's going on over there.
Well, this is about this is North Long Beach.
Oh,
Right, which is an area I hadn't even thought about in a while because it's that I looked it up on the map. It's between South and Candlewood, and they just doubled the size from 5.5 acres to 11.5 acres, more than doubled, and it includes grass fields and walking paths and
Right now it does?
picnic areas. Yeah, they had
Oh,
a ribbon
wow.
cutting on Tuesday.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's up on between Paramount Boulevard and 55th.
okay.
And then just north of Candlestick, and it's a huge space that took 18 years to complete. And it's called Davenport Park, named after a police officer who was in the department for 40 years.
We'll have to get over and find out what took 18 years.
Oh, yeah, it's all.
That's a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had built that park, and then it just sat basically for years, and then they just, as she pointed out, they just recently redeveloped it a little bit. I think there's soccer fields there now. and
Right.
so
Well, there
on.
was some of the property, they had some gas issues, and they had to solve that and solve this and whatever. So it took 12 years
Wow.
to complete, and they just had the ribbon cutting Tuesday.
We definitely need more green space for sure. Downtown Long Beach, we don't have enough.
Well, especially if we're going to get ready for another administration, green space is good for your mental health, right? Not just because of recreation and community space, but also for sound and heat and all those environmental reasons as
Right.
well.
You know, it's also the Olympics. We're going to get ready for the Olympics.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the influx of a lot of folks. We want to be right on the edge of that one, hopefully.
Yeah,
It'd be great to be involved in that somehow, to do some live broadcasts around the Olympics.
that would be fun.
Yeah.
I remember the 84. I remember the 84 Olympics
Would
here.
did you volunteer? Did you?
Oh,
even
no,
do
I
that?
was 10 years old.
Okay, there's that.
I just more remembered the Sam the Eagle coloring books.
Yeah. I remember my aunt did. She volunteered, and she ended up making like peanut butter sandwiches, which are only job that she had during the entire Olympics, making voluminous amounts of peanut butter sandwiches, so much that she could never eat peanut butter again. But it was volunteer work. That's something. Now they'd probably have to say you have to pay me to do this.
Yeah.
But Long Beach is going to be involved, so once again, we want to make sure.
Be on top of that.
Yeah, especially if there's anything free we can get out of it.
Yeah.
Press pass. We definitely want that. I mentioned earlier in the show the passing of somebody, a legend in the music industry, Quincy Jones, 91 years old. And you can go all the way back to 1980 when I first discovered him, in a way. Michael Jackson. I was working with Michael Jackson,
Right.
early 80 and 81. And then Quincy was working on his own album at the time. I was music director of Kiss FM, and he desperately wanted a song from his new album, The Dude, on Kiss FM, because he knew that would be a hit maker and that other stations would follow. So I remember he called the station one day to ask us about whether or not we would play I Know Corrida was the name of the song. And the label called immediately afterwards. Whatever he said, forget it. There's another single we chose. It's going to be that single. And so he called back, and turned out that when he called me, we had a guest drop out of a Sunday night interview show that was a hit on the station. And it was Friday. I think he's talking to me on the phone about Friday, 5:45, and we have this cancellation. And I got enough chutzpah to say, would you mind being our guest? Because I recognized he wanted a record played. We had a station.
Right.
He said yes immediately. And on Sunday, drove down Sunset Boulevard to the radio station and did the interview. I'm the young production assistant, so I make sure that we play the song. So the song got at least one play on Kiss FM, right? And he acquiesced to the choice of the record label. And he said, what do you think about this? And I said, it's not quite the best song that I would choose. And you're going to hate me because he liked the I Know Corrida, which I'm going to end the show with today. I'll play it. Is an up-tempo tune. Kind of sounds like the Brothers Johnson, which he also produced.
Right.
So you'll hear the sound. However, he wanted this song, and I said, I like the ballad. And he's like, no. I go, no, Quincy, the ballad's it. Because I was a fan of the young lady singing the ballad, Patty Austin, with James Ingram, who I didn't know about at the time.
Oh, wow.
And it was called Just Once. Remember that song?
Yeah.
Sure.
That was the song the label finally gave in, and it was a sort of a mediation between the 2 points. In other words, I was pushing for the song I thought would get the most airplay. They were pushing for the song they thought would be the best hit on the. It came as the second tune, wasn't a hit. So he went with it. Never forgot me. Every time I saw him, he would always say, "Dude," he would call me that. He didn't remember my name. And then he would always say hello. One time he says, "Hey," I said, "Listen, I'm doing a little recording thing here." He goes, "No, tell you what, come on by the studio. Wednesday afternoon at noon." Okay, great. I go by. And as I pull up to his studios off of Beverly Boulevard there, in the parking lot is this guy in a red leather jacket bending over the pipes that, keep you from crashing through the walls. And he's banging on him. And he's holding a microphone. And he stands up and says hello. And it's Michael Jackson recording stuff for his song, "I Want to Be Starting Something."
Wow.
So if you hear a lot, that's him actually in the parking lot making noise on pipes.
Oh,
for this. That was very
incredible.
cool. That wasn't the coolest thing.
I think it's the coolest thing.
Yeah, we go
pretty
inside.
cool.
Yeah.
We go inside, and he's doing a recording of a song with Patty Austin, and he lets everybody come over and be part of the hand claps. So I don't know whether he ever used it, but it made us feel great. You know what I'm saying? Just really great man. And then he says, "Hey, do you want to interview me for your radio show?" Now, I didn't have a radio show, but I said yes.
Of course.
Got a chance to go up to his house on a Saturday afternoon at 11 o'clock in the morning, right? Interview him about his life and about his music, and especially about his album, right? And he'd let me watch Bruce Swedane mix part of Michael Jackson's album. He let me in the studio to observe. He was just such a nice guy. I was nobody.
That's
except
incredible.
I was the music director of the #1 radio station in LA, but there's that.
That's somebody.
Yeah. So I got a chance to do that in the middle of the interview. This little girl comes and jumps in my lap, bounces up and down. He goes, "That's my daughter, Rashida." No, an actress.
Oh,
now famous.
right.
And then he goes, "And you met my wife." And it's
Peggy Lipton.
there you go, from the Mod Squad, right? And I was like, blah, 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 blah. Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And in front of me, they had a little tense moment because there was a lot of friction at the house at the time. It was right before their divorce. And he let me see it all. He didn't hide anything from anyone. And I just left there beaming because he treated me like a real pro.
Nice.
And that's why he was a real pro, So I just want to say goodbye. He was such a great guy. And like he had always, like I said, whenever he saw me, he always said hello. And that's the kind of guy you heard about from everybody that knew him. I knew him too.
That's
Just
great.
a little bit,
That's
but
fantastic.
I knew him. Isn't that great? So
Fantastic.
a great way to go out on this show this morning. I'll play "I Know Corita" by Quincy Jones. Let me find it. It's right here.
I honored Quincy Jones by watching The Wiz that night.
Oh, did you really?
Yes, which is something I watch a couple times a year, whether I need it or not.
It's great.
So I
I keep forgetting he did that. He did so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes back. He worked with Sinatra. He worked with all these greats
did,
in the
huh?
40s, 30s, and 40s. He worked. People don't know that he worked. He basically made Leslie Gore
right
a big star
Absolutely.
in the 50s.
There you go.
It's My Party.
Right.
Judy's Turn to Cry. You Don't Own Me.
Right. And if you're in
Which
our
is-
age range, the
yeah.
theme to Peter Gunn
Yeah.
TV show, that was him.
Yep.
I mean, In the Still of the Night with Rod Steiger, that was him. I mean, amazing.
There was nothing he couldn't
Yeah.
do.
Watch the
musically.
documentary that's out right now. It's called Quincy. Great documentary, and share that with your friends and family because that's a legend, man. Especially if you're into music, you have to know about him.
Yep.
So on the way out, there it is right here. I'm Danny Lemos.
I'm Mike Stark.
I'm Melanie Ray. Take care.